I should have realized something was wrong the moment Harrison started remembering things I never told him. At first, I thought I got lucky. Cheap rent, quiet building, decent area. Places like that don't just fall into your lap. But I needed it. I had just moved, didn't know anyone, and honestly, I just wanted a fresh start. No drama, no questions. Just a place where I could be myself without worrying who was watching. Ironically, that's exactly what I didn't get. Harrison was the landlord. Early 40s, I guess. Always calm, always polite, but in that controlled way that makes you feel like he's measuring every word you say. The first time we met, he held eye contact just a second too long. I remember thinking it was just one of those awkward introductions. Now I know better, because Harrison noticed everything. What time I left, what time I came back, when I ordered food, when I had someone over, especially when I had someone over. That someone was Joseph. I met Joseph at a small cafe not far from my place. Nothing dramatic. He spilled coffee on himself. I laughed. We started talking. Simple. Easy. He had this quiet confidence about him, like he didn't need to prove anything to anyone. Being around him felt safe, which is probably why I let my guard down. That night, he came over for the first time. Nothing crazy, just a movie, cheap wine, sitting a little too close on my couch. The kind of night where everything feels normal even when it's not. At some point, his hand brushed mine. Neither of us pulled away. And then he looked at me, really looked, and I knew exactly what was about to happen. "Is this okay?" he asked softly. I nodded. And then we kissed. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't messy. Just slow, careful, real. For a second, everything else disappeared. The apartment, the city, the noise in my head. Just him. Until a sound. I pulled back slightly. "Did you hear that?" Joseph frowned. "Yeah. Like something outside?" I tried to play it off. "Old building," I said, forcing a small smile. "Probably pipes or something." But my chest felt tight, because deep down, I knew it wasn't that. Still, we stayed on the couch. Tried to ignore it. Tried to go back to whatever that moment had been. His hand slid back into mine. And then, a knock. Loud. Sharp. Too deliberate to be random. We both froze. Joseph looked at me. "You expecting someone?" "No," I said immediately. Another knock. Slower this time. Like whoever was on the other side knew we were there. And was waiting. I stood up, my heartbeat already picking up, and walked toward the door. Every step felt heavier than it should have. I checked the peephole, and my stomach dropped. Harrison, standing way too close. So close I could only see part of his face, his eye, angled slightly upward. Like he already knew I was looking. I stepped back instinctively. "Who is it?" Joseph asked. "My landlord," I said quietly. "Why is he here?" I didn't answer, because I had a feeling. I already knew. The knock came again. I opened the door just a little, keeping my body in the way. "Harrison? Is everything okay?" He didn't respond right away. He just looked at me. Then slowly his eyes shifted past me. Into the apartment. Into the living room. Straight to Joseph. And something in his expression changed. It was small, but I caught it. Recognition. Not surprise. Recognition. "I heard voices," he said finally, his tone calm. Too calm. "Yeah," I replied carefully. "I've got a friend over." "A friend," he repeated. The way he said it made my skin crawl. "Is there a problem?" He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "No," he said. "Tenants are allowed to have guests." Then why was he still standing there? Why wasn't he leaving? "I was just checking the building," he added, glancing past me again. "Making sure everything is in order." "At this hour?" I asked before I could stop myself. His smile widened slightly. "I like to be thorough." Behind me, I felt Joseph step closer. Harrison noticed immediately. His gaze locked onto him again. Slow, deliberate, like he was studying him. Then his eyes returned to me. And this time, there was no hiding it. "So," he said quietly, "this is your friend." The air shifted. I could feel it. that subtle tension turning into something heavier, something wrong. And in that moment, standing there with Harrison watching us like that, I realized something I couldn't ignore anymore. He didn't just show up randomly. He had been listening, maybe longer than I thought. And now that he knew, he wasn't going to forget it, or ignore it, or leave me alone. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. Joseph stayed for a while after Harrison left, but the mood was already broken. Whatever we had built on that couch, soft, quiet, real, it cracked the second Harrison showed up at the door. We tried to act normal. We even went back to the movie, but neither of us was watching anymore. Joseph kept glancing toward the door, like he expected another knock at any moment. And honestly, so did I. That was weird, he finally said. Yeah, I replied, rubbing the back of my neck. He's just like that, I guess. But even as I said it, I knew I was lying. Because Harrison hadn't been like that before. Not this intense. Joseph looked at me carefully. You sure you're okay here? That question hit harder than it should have. Yeah, I said quickly. Too quickly. It's fine. He's just a bit nosy. Joseph didn't look convinced. And honestly, neither was I. He stayed another hour, maybe two. We talked about random things, tried to laugh it off. But there was this tension sitting between us now. Something unspoken. When he finally got up to leave, I walked him to the door. He hesitated before stepping out. Text me when you wake up tomorrow, he said. I nodded. Yeah. Then he leaned in and kissed me again. Softer this time. Shorter. Like both of us were aware we weren't alone anymore, even if the hallway was empty. Or at least, looked empty. After he left, I locked the door immediately, then checked it again. And again. I told myself I was being paranoid. But still, I didn't feel alone. The next morning, I woke up to a notification. Unknown number. My stomach dropped before I even opened it. Hope your friend got home safe. I stared at the message for a long second. Then another. My chest tightened. There was no name attached. No contact saved. But I didn't need one. I already knew. Harrison. I checked the time. 8:12 a.m. How the hell did he have my number? I sat up in bed, suddenly very awake. Another message came in. You should be more careful who you bring into the building. My jaw clenched. Careful? What the hell was that supposed to mean? I didn't reply. I didn't want to give him anything. But my hands were already shaking. The third message. Some people might not understand. That one made my stomach turn. Because now it wasn't just weird. It was a warning. I spent the whole day distracted. Couldn't focus. Couldn't relax. Every little sound made me tense up. I kept thinking about the way he looked at Joseph. The way he said, friend. The way he didn't leave. And now, the messages. By the afternoon, I convinced myself I was overreacting. Maybe he was just being intrusive. Not dangerous. Just inappropriate. Still, I decided to go out for a bit. Clear my head. Get some air. I grabbed my jacket, stepped into the hallway, and froze. Harrison was there, leaning casually against the wall like he had all the time in the world. Like he'd been waiting. For you, he said. My heart skipped. What are you doing here? He straightened slightly, adjusting his sleeves like nothing was wrong. Just checking on things, he said. Making sure my tenants are comfortable. I didn't move closer. Didn't move away either. Just stood there trying to keep my expression neutral. I'm fine, I said. You don't need to do that. He smiled again. That same controlled smile. But I want to. A pause. Then his eyes flicked over me slowly. Not subtle. Not accidental. You didn't reply to my messages, he added. There it was. Confirmation. I felt my chest tighten again. I didn't know what to say. You could start with thank you, he said lightly. For what? For looking out for you. Something about that made my skin crawl. I didn't ask you to do that. No, he agreed. But you need someone who does. The way he said it, it wasn't concern. It was possession. I took a step back. I'm good, I said firmly. Really? For a second, his expression didn't change. Then, just slightly, darkened. "Are you?" he asked quietly. The hallway suddenly felt too small, too quiet, too closed in. "I saw the way he touched you," Harrison continued. My stomach dropped. "You shouldn't trust people like that so easily." My pulse was loud in my ears now. "You don't know anything about him," I said. "I know enough." His voice was still calm. That made it worse. "Guys like him," he added, tilting his head slightly, "they don't stay." I clenched my jaw. "And you do." I shot back before I could stop myself. That was a mistake. I saw it immediately. The shift. The way his eyes sharpened. The way his posture changed just slightly. "Yes," he said. Not defensive. Not angry. Just certain. And that certainty, that's what scared me the most. Because in that moment, standing there alone in the hallway with him, I realized something I couldn't ignore anymore. Harrison wasn't just watching me. He had decided something. Something about me. And whatever it was, he wasn't going to let it go. I started avoiding being home. That was the first real sign something wasn't right. At first, I told myself it was just temporary. Just until things settled down. But deep down, I knew things weren't settling. They were escalating. Harrison didn't text again that day, which somehow made it worse. Because now I was waiting for it. I stayed out longer than usual that evening. Walked around the city. Sat in a cafe for hours pretending to work on my laptop. Even though I couldn't focus on a single thing. My mind kept replaying everything. His messages. His tone. The way he said, "I saw the way he touched you." That part stuck with me. Because it meant one thing I couldn't ignore anymore. He hadn't just heard us. He'd seen us. By the time I got back to the building, it was already dark. The hallway lights flickered slightly as I stepped inside, casting those uneven shadows that suddenly felt a lot more unsettling than usual. I told myself to relax. Just get inside. Lock the door. Sleep. That's it. Simple. I walked down the hallway and immediately felt it. That feeling. Like someone was watching. I stopped. Turned slightly. Nothing. Empty. But the silence felt wrong. Too heavy. Too aware. I swallowed it down and kept walking, pulling my keys out before I even reached my door. The faster I got inside, the better. I unlocked it quickly, stepped in, and shut it behind me with a little more force than necessary. Then locked it. Twice. I stood there for a second, breathing, listening. Nothing. Just silence. "Get it together," I muttered under my breath. I moved further into the apartment, tossing my keys onto the table, and froze. Something was off. I couldn't explain it right away. Everything looked normal, but it didn't feel normal. My eyes moved slowly across the room. Couch, table, kitchen. Then, my stomach dropped. The window. It was slightly open. Just a crack. I knew for a fact I had closed it before I left. I always did. Always. A cold feeling spread through my chest. "No," I whispered. I stepped closer slowly, like somehow that would make it less real. The curtain shifted slightly from the night air coming in. I reached out, hand hovering for a second before pushing the window shut. Locked. I checked it again. And again. My heart was pounding now. Maybe I forgot. Maybe I didn't close it properly. Maybe. My phone buzzed. I flinched. Actually flinched. I pulled it out slowly, already knowing what I'd see. Unknown number. Again. I didn't want to open it. But I did. "You should really keep your windows closed." My breath caught. My entire body went cold. Another message came instantly after. "You never know who might come in." I felt it then. Not just fear. Not just unease. But something deeper. Something heavier. Because this wasn't subtle anymore. This wasn't nosy landlord. This was. I turned suddenly, scanning the apartment like I expected to see someone standing there. Closet. Bathroom door. Kitchen. Nothing. But the feeling didn't go away. If anything, it got stronger. I didn't sleep that night either. I stayed on the couch with all the lights on. Every small noise made my heart jump. Every shadow felt wrong. I kept checking my phone. Waiting. And around 2:47 a.m., another message. You look better when you're nervous. I stopped breathing. My eyes slowly lifted from the phone, toward the window, the curtains, the darkness outside. And for a split second, I thought I saw something move. I shot up from the couch, stepping back instinctively. "Hello," I called out, my voice tighter than I wanted. No answer, just silence. But I knew he was out there, watching. The next morning, I texted Joseph. I didn't even try to act normal. "Hey, can I stay at your place tonight?" He replied almost immediately. "Of course. What's wrong?" I stared at the screen for a long moment, then typed, "I think my landlord is stalking me." There was a pause. Then, "I'm coming to get you." For the first time in the last 24 hours, I felt something close to relief. But it didn't last long, because as I stood up to start packing a bag, my phone buzzed again. One more message. Short, simple, terrifying. "You're not leaving." I froze. And in that moment, I realized something I hadn't fully accepted until now. Harrison wasn't just watching me. He was controlling the situation. And if I tried to leave, I had no idea what he would do. I didn't pack a bag. Not right away. I just stood there in the middle of my apartment, staring at my phone like if I kept reading that message, it might change. "You're not leaving." My chest felt tight. Too tight. Like the walls had suddenly moved closer without me noticing. I looked toward the door, then the window, then back at my phone. This wasn't just creepy anymore. This was control. Joseph texted again. "I'm already on my way." That snapped something in me. "No," I muttered under my breath. I grabbed my jacket, shoved a few essentials into a backpack wallet, charger, a couple of clothes. My hands were shaking, but I forced myself to move faster. I wasn't staying here. I didn't care what Harrison thought. I didn't care what he wanted. 5 minutes later, I was standing at the door, hand on the handle, frozen, because suddenly all I could think about was, what if he's out there, watching, waiting? My grip tightened. "This is stupid," I whispered to myself. "You're leaving." I unlocked the door, slowly, carefully, then pulled it open. The hallway was empty. Too empty. The same dim lights, the same silence. But now it felt like a trap. I stepped out anyway, closed the door behind me, locked it, and started walking. Every step echoed louder than it should have. My heartbeat matched the rhythm. Fast, uneven. I kept looking ahead, refusing to turn around, even though every instinct screamed at me to check behind me. Halfway down the hallway, a voice. "Going somewhere?" I stopped. My entire body went rigid. Slowly, I turned. Harrison, standing at the far end of the corridor, like he had always been there, watching, waiting. "How long have you been there?" I asked, my voice tight. He didn't answer. He just walked toward me, calm, unhurried, like none of this was strange, like this was normal. "I thought we had an understanding," he said. My grip tightened on the strap of my bag. "We don't have anything," I replied. "I'm leaving." He stopped a few feet away from me, close enough, too close. "You're upset," he said, tilting his head slightly. "I get that." "I'm not upset," I snapped. "You're stalking me." A pause, then a soft chuckle. "Stalking?" he repeated. "That's a strong word. You text me. You watch me. You—" I cut myself off, my chest rising and falling faster now. "You were inside my apartment." That last part hung in the air, heavy, dangerous. For a second, he didn't react. Then, "That's not true," he said calmly. "You literally texted me about my window." "I was concerned," he replied. "You left it open." "I didn't." Another pause, and this one felt different, because now he wasn't even pretending. "You're safe here," Harrison said quietly. Something about that made my stomach turn. "I don't feel safe," I shot back. His eyes darkened slightly. "That's because you're letting the wrong people in," he said. "People like Joseph. Don't talk about him." My voice came out sharper than I expected. And that's when I saw it. That shift. That subtle change in his expression. Jealousy. Real, unmistakable jealousy. You trust him? Harrison asked. Yes. You shouldn't. You don't get to decide that. Silence. Heavy. Tense. Then he stepped closer. One step. That's all it took. My body reacted instantly. I stepped back. Stay where you are, I warned. But he didn't stop. You don't understand, he said, his voice lower now. I'm the one who's been looking out for you. I didn't ask you to. You needed it. I needed privacy. I snapped. I needed a normal landlord. Not this. That hit. I saw it. For the first time. Something cracked. Not anger. Not exactly. Something more intense. You think this is about control? He asked quietly. I didn't answer. Because yes, that's exactly what I thought. His gaze locked onto mine. No, he said. This is about you. My stomach dropped. Ever since you moved in, he continued, I noticed you. Every word felt heavier than the last. The way you keep to yourself. The way you watch people but don't let them get too close. My breath caught. You're careful, he said, but not careful enough. I shook my head slightly. This is insane. No, he said softly. What's insane is bringing someone like him into my building. There it was. Not the building. My building. Like that gave him a claim over everything inside it. Including me. I'm leaving, I said again, more firmly this time. I turned, and he grabbed my wrist. Not hard, but firm enough to stop me. Everything in my body went cold. Don't, he said. Just one word. Low. Controlled. Dangerous. I looked down at his hand, then back up at him. Let go. For a second, he didn't move. And in that second, I realized something that made my chest tighten even more. He wasn't scared. Not of me. Not of consequences. Nothing. Finally, slowly, he released my wrist. But his eyes never left mine. If you walk out that door, he said quietly, you won't be able to come back. The threat. Clear. Direct. My heart was pounding. But I didn't hesitate this time. Then I guess I'm not coming back. And with that, I walked past him. Every step felt like I was waiting for him to grab me again. To stop me. To do something. But he didn't. He just stood there. Watching. When I reached the entrance of the building, I saw Joseph outside. The second he spotted me, he moved quickly toward me. Hey, you okay? He asked, his hands immediately on my shoulders. I nodded even though I wasn't. Yeah, let's go. He looked past me toward the building. Was he there? I hesitated, then nodded. Joseph's jaw tightened. Did he touch you? I swallowed. Yeah. That was enough. His expression changed instantly. Protective. Serious. Okay, he said. You're not going back in there. I nodded again, because now, I knew he was right. But as we started walking away, couldn't help it. I looked back, up toward the building, toward my window, and there, barely visible in the darkness, a figure, standing still, watching, Harrison. And even from that distance, I could feel it. This wasn't over. Not even close. I thought once I left, that would be it. That distance would fix things. That Harrison would stay behind inside that building, inside that space, and whatever twisted fixation he had on me would just fade. I was wrong. Joseph didn't let go of me the entire way to his place. Not in a suffocating way. In a grounding way. His hand stayed wrapped around mine. Steady, warm, real, like he was making sure I didn't disappear. You're staying as long as you need, he said as we walked. No discussion. I nodded. Honestly, I didn't have the energy to argue. My mind was still back there. In that hallway. In that moment when Harrison grabbed my wrist. The way he said, don't, kept replaying. Over and over. Joseph's apartment felt different. Lighter. Safer. Like I could actually breathe again. The second we stepped inside, he locked the door behind us, then checked it again just like I had done earlier. Except this time, it didn't feel paranoid. It felt necessary. Sit, he said gently, guiding me toward the couch. I did. my body finally starting to realize how tense it had been. Joseph crouched in front of me, his hands resting on my knees. "Talk to me," he said. I exhaled slowly. "I think he's been watching me for longer than I realized." Joseph's jaw tightened slightly. "How long?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But he knew things. Not just tonight. Before too." I ran a hand through my hair. "He knew when I was home, when I wasn't. And now," I swallowed, "now he knows about us." Joseph didn't react immediately, but I saw it in his eyes. That shift. Protectiveness turning into something sharper. "Did you tell anyone else?" he asked. "No." "So he's the only one?" I nodded. Joseph stood up, pacing once across the room before stopping near the window. "He crossed a line," he said. "Multiple lines." "I know." "No, you don't," he said, turning back to me. "This isn't just creepy. This is illegal." I let out a quiet, humorless laugh. "Try telling him that." Joseph stepped closer again. "I will," he said. I looked up at him. "You don't know him." "I don't need to." "Yes, you do," I said more firmly now. "He's not normal, Joseph. He's calm. Too calm. Like he's already decided how this ends." Silence. That landed. Joseph studied my face for a second, then softened slightly. "Okay," he said. "Then we handle this smart." That night, for the first time in 2 days, I slept. Not deeply, not peacefully, but enough. Enough to wake up feeling like my body wasn't about to shut down. Joseph was already awake when I walked into the kitchen, leaning against the counter, scrolling through his phone. He looked up immediately. "Morning." "Morning," I replied, my voice still a little rough. He handed me a cup of coffee without asking. I took it, grateful. "We need to talk about what you're going to do," he said. I nodded slowly. "I can't go back there." "No," he agreed. "You're not. But all my stuff is there. We'll get it." The way he said it made me pause. "We?" I asked. "Yes, we." I hesitated. Joseph noticed. "What?" "I don't want you near him." His expression tightened slightly. "I can handle myself." "I know," I said quickly. "That's not the point." "Then what is?" I looked down at my coffee. "He's fixated," I said quietly. "And now you're part of that." A beat. Then, "All the more reason I'm not letting you deal with this alone." I looked back up at him, and for a second, that same feeling from the first night came back. Safe. My phone buzzed. We both looked at it. Unknown number. Again. Joseph didn't say anything, but I felt it, the tension. I unlocked the screen. Another message. "You left." My stomach tightened. Another one came instantly. "That wasn't a good decision." Joseph stepped closer, reading over my shoulder. "Okay," he said calmly. "We're done playing nice." Before I could react, he took my phone. "Hey," he started typing. Fast, deliberate. Then showed me the screen before sending. "This is Joseph. Stop contacting him or I go to the police." My heart jumped. "Joseph." Too late. Sent. We both stared at the screen, waiting. Seconds passed. Too many. Then, a reply. Short. Cold. "So this is the one." I felt something twist in my chest. Joseph's jaw clenched. Another message. "You think you can protect him?" The room felt heavier instantly. And then, the last one. "You don't know what he needs." Joseph exhaled slowly, then looked at me. "He's not stopping," he said. I shook my head slightly. "No, he's not." And deep down, I knew something else too. Harrison wasn't just reacting anymore. He was escalating. And if we went back to that apartment, we weren't just walking into a place. We were walking straight into him. I didn't want to go back. Every instinct I had was screaming not to, but everything I owned was still in that apartment. And Harrison knew it, which meant one thing. If I wanted my life back, I had to face him again. "We're going during the day," Joseph said. He was already getting dressed, moving with this quiet determination that made it clear there was no changing his mind. "And we're not staying long." I nodded. Grab your essentials. We'll come back for the rest later if we have to. You really think he'll just let us? I asked. Joseph paused for a second, then looked at me. No, he said honestly. But I don't think he expects me. That didn't make me feel better. But it was something. The walk back felt longer than usual. Every step closer to the building made my chest tighter. Joseph stayed close beside me the entire time. Not touching, but close enough, like he was ready, for what I didn't even know. When we reached the entrance, I stopped, just for a second. This is a bad idea, I said quietly. Joseph looked at me. Maybe, he admitted. But we're doing it anyway. Then he opened the door. The hallway felt exactly the same. Same lights, same silence. But now it felt different, like stepping back into a place that remembered you. I swallowed and walked beside Joseph, trying not to look around too much, trying not to feel watched. But I did. God, I did. We reached my apartment. I unlocked the door quickly, stepping inside first. Everything looked normal, too normal, like nothing had happened, like I hadn't left in a panic the night before. Joseph stepped in behind me, immediately scanning the room. Okay, he said. Fast. I nodded. I moved to the bedroom, grabbing clothes, stuffing them into a bag without even folding them. My hands were shaking again. Not as bad as before, but enough. Joseph stayed in the living room, watching, listening. Then, a sound. From the hallway. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. My body froze instantly. Joseph, I whispered. I hear it, he replied. The footsteps stopped. Right outside the door. Silence. Heavy. Pressing. Then, a knock. Not loud. Not aggressive. Just certain. Joseph looked at me. I shook my head immediately. No. Another knock. Slower. Deliberate. Just like before. My chest tightened. He knows we're here, I whispered. Joseph stepped closer to the door. I grabbed his arm. Don't. He looked at me, then gently removed my hand. I'm not letting him control this, he said quietly. Before I could stop him, he opened the door. Harrison stood there, exactly like before, calm, composed. But the second his eyes landed on Joseph, everything changed. That calm cracked, just slightly, but enough. So, Harrison said slowly. His gaze locked on him. You came back. Joseph didn't move. Yeah, he said, to help him leave. A pause. Then Harrison smiled. But this time, there was nothing polite about it. I told him not to. Joseph stepped forward slightly. And I'm telling you to stop contacting him. The air shifted instantly. Tension. Sharp. Alive. Harrison's eyes flicked to me for a second. Then back to Joseph. You think this is your place? He asked quietly. Joseph didn't hesitate. No, he said. But it's definitely not yours either. That hit hard. I saw it. The way Harrison's jaw tightened. The way his posture shifted. That calm. Slipping. You don't understand what you're interfering with, Harrison said. I understand enough, Joseph replied. You're harassing him. You're watching him. You're not normal. Silence. Heavy. Dangerous. Then, Harrison laughed. Soft. Almost amused. Not normal, he repeated. His gaze slid back to me. And he is. My stomach dropped. Careful, Harrison continued, his voice lower now. You don't know everything about him. Joseph didn't even look back at me. I don't need to, he said. I trust him. That word, trust, did something. I saw it instantly. Something darker. Something sharper. In Harrison. He doesn't need trust, Harrison said quietly. He needs someone who sees him. My chest tightened. That's not you, Joseph said. Another pause. And this one felt like the breaking point, because Harrison stepped forward. Close enough now that the space between them disappeared. You think you know him after a few weeks? Harrison said. Joseph didn't back up. More than you ever will. That was it. That was the line. I saw it happen. That final shift. Harrison's expression changed completely. No more pretending. No more calm. Just obsession. You shouldn't have come back, he said quietly. And this time, it wasn't a warning. It was a promise. Before I could react, Harrison reached forward and shoved Joseph hard. Everything happened fast after that. Joseph stumbled back but didn't fall, then immediately stepped forward again. Don't touch me, he snapped. I moved between them. Stop, both of you. But Harrison wasn't even looking at him anymore. He was looking at me. Only me. See, he said, breathing slightly heavier now. This is what he brings into your life. My heart was pounding. This is what you bring. I shot back. That hit harder than anything else. For a split second, he looked hurt, and that scared me even more, because it twisted right back into something worse. You're making a mistake, he said. I'm leaving, I replied. No, he said, and this time, there was no pretending, no softness, just control. You're not. Joseph grabbed my arm. We're going, he said, and this time, I didn't hesitate. We moved past Harrison together, fast, before he could react, before he could stop us. But as we reached the end of the hallway, I heard it. His voice, behind us, calm again, too calm. You can run, Harrison said. We didn't turn around, didn't stop. But his next words, they followed me all the way out of the building. But you're still mine. And that's when I knew this wasn't just obsession anymore. This had turned into something else, something dangerous, something that wasn't going to end just because I walked away. We didn't stop walking until we were 2 blocks away. Only then did Joseph finally slow down, turning to look at me. Are you okay? He asked, his hands immediately on my shoulders again. I nodded automatically, but I wasn't, not even close. My heart was still racing, my mind still stuck back in that hallway on Harrison's voice, on the way he said it. You're still mine, it echoed, over and over. I'm calling the police, Joseph said. That snapped me back. No, he frowned. What do you mean, no? I mean, wait, I said, running a hand through my hair. We need to think. There's nothing to think about, he said. He just assaulted me. He's been harassing you. This is exactly what the police are for. I know, I said. I stopped, because I didn't know how to explain it. The way Harrison looked at me, the way he talked, like he didn't care about consequences, like calling the police wouldn't scare him. Joseph watched me carefully. You're scared, he said. I let out a breath. Yeah. Of him. I hesitated, then nodded. That night, we didn't leave Joseph's apartment. Didn't even consider it. He ordered food, put on some random show in the background, tried to create some sense of normal. And for a while, it worked. Sitting there beside him, legs brushing, his arm occasionally resting against mine, it grounded me. Reminded me that Harrison wasn't here, that I wasn't alone. But my phone kept sitting there on the table. Silent, too silent. Around 11:38 p.m., it buzzed. Joseph and I both looked at it at the same time. Unknown number. Again, my chest tightened. Don't open it, Joseph said. I didn't listen. I unlocked it. You think distance changes anything? I swallowed. Another message came instantly. I know where you are. Joseph's expression darkened. That's it, he said. I'm done with this. He grabbed his own phone. What are you doing? I asked. Calling the police. Joseph. No. He cut me off. This isn't up for debate anymore. He stepped away slightly, already dialing. And for the first time since this started, I felt something different. Not fear. Not panic. Something closer to relief. But it didn't last long. Because as Joseph spoke to the operator, my phone buzzed again. I looked down. Another message. Longer this time. My hands tightened around the phone as I read it. You don't understand what he's doing. He's turning you against me. My chest felt tight again. I've been the only one paying attention to you. The only one who actually sees you. I shook my head slightly. No. Another message. He'll leave. They always do. Joseph's voice faded into the background. All I could hear was my heartbeat and Harrison's words. But I won't. Hey, Joseph said suddenly, stepping back toward me. They're sending someone over. I nodded slowly, but my eyes were still on the screen, still reading, still processing. He's escalating, Joseph said. This is good. This means we can stop it. Stop it. I wanted to believe that. I really did. But something inside me kept whispering. You don't stop someone like Harrison that easily. The knock on the door came about 20 minutes later. Firm. Official. Joseph opened it. 2 officers. They stepped inside, calm, professional, asking questions. Joseph explained everything. The messages, the harassment, the confrontation, the shove. I added what I could. About the window, about the watching, about the way Harrison knew things he shouldn't. They listened, took notes, nodded. Standard procedure. But I noticed something. That slight shift in their expressions. That subtle hesitation. Like they weren't fully convinced how serious this was yet. We can file a report, one of them said. And we strongly recommend you don't return to that apartment alone. I'm not going back at all, I said. He nodded. Good. After they left, the apartment felt quiet again. Too quiet. Joseph sat beside me. You did the right thing, he said. I nodded. But I didn't feel better. Because deep down, I knew something he didn't. Something the police didn't. Something Harrison had made very clear. This wasn't about rules, or consequences, or boundaries. This was about control. And people like him, they don't stop just because someone tells them to. My phone buzzed one last time that night. I didn't want to check it, but I did. A single message. Short, cold, final. Now you've made it worse. I stared at it for a long time, then slowly looked up at Joseph. He didn't see it, didn't know, but I did. And in that moment, I realized something that made my stomach drop. Calling the police didn't end this. It escalated it. And whatever Harrison was planning next was going to be worse than anything that had already happened. I didn't realize how bad it had gotten until the next night. Up until then, everything still felt like it was happening around me. Messages, encounters, that constant feeling of being watched. But that night, it became real. Joseph insisted I stay close. Not in a controlling way, just aware. Every time I moved, he noticed. Every time my phone buzzed, his eyes flicked toward it. He didn't say it out loud, but I could tell he wasn't underestimating Harrison anymore. Neither was I. Around midnight, I couldn't sleep. Again, I was lying on Joseph's bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything for the 100th time. Harrison's voice, his words, that calm certainty, and the last message. Now you've made it worse. It wouldn't leave my head. I got up quietly, not wanting to wake Joseph, and walked into the living room. The city outside was quiet. Too quiet. I stood by the window for a second, arms crossed, trying to slow my breathing. You're safe here. That's what I kept telling myself. Over and over. Then, a sound. Soft, but wrong. Faint click. From the door. My entire body froze. I turned slowly. The handle moved. Just slightly. My heart dropped. No, I whispered. Another click. This time louder. Like someone testing it. Trying it. My chest tightened so fast it hurt. Joseph, I said, my voice barely coming out. The handle moved again. Harder. Then, a knock. Slow. Deliberate. Exactly the same as before. Joseph was up instantly. What's wrong? I didn't even need to answer. He heard it. Another knock. He moved toward the door, but I grabbed his arm immediately. No, I said. Don't open it. His jaw tightened. Stay behind me, he said. I'm serious, don't. The knock came again. This time louder. More impatient. And then, a voice. Through the door. Calm. Controlled. Familiar. Open the door. My blood ran cold. Harrison. Joseph didn't move. Didn't open it. Go away, he said firmly. Silence. Then, a quiet laugh. You really think this is your place? Harrison's voice came again, muffled but clear enough. You think you can keep him here? Joseph didn't respond. Couldn't. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Another sound. Metal. Something against the lock. Joseph swore under his breath. He's trying to get in, he said. Panic hit instantly. What do we do? I'm calling the police again. He pulled out his phone. But before he could dial, the handle jerked violently. Once, twice, then stopped. Silence. Heavy. Waiting. We didn't move. Didn't speak. Seconds stretched. Too long. Then, footsteps. Slow. Fading. Away from the door. We stood there for a full minute. 2, 3. Just listening. Nothing. Joseph exhaled slowly. He's gone. I didn't believe it. Not fully. But the silence stayed. No more sounds. No more movement. Nothing. The police came again. This time faster. They checked the hallway. The building. But Harrison was gone. No sign of him. Like he had never been there. But he had. We both knew it. And now, so did they. That night I didn't sleep at all. Not even a minute. Because something had changed. Before, it felt like he was watching. Now, he was acting. The next morning I made a decision. I wasn't going back. Not for my stuff. Not for anything. I filed a formal report. Started the process to terminate the lease. Changed my number. Everything. And Joseph. He didn't leave my side. Not once. Took weeks before things started to feel normal again. Even then, not really. Sometimes I'd still catch myself checking windows. Listening for footsteps. Waiting for that knock. But Harrison never came back. No messages. No calls. No signs. Nothing. And somehow, that was worse. Because I never got closure. Never got an explanation. Never got to understand what he really wanted. But one thing stayed with me. Something I don't think I'll ever forget. That look in his eyes. That certainty. That feeling that, if things had gone just a little differently, if I hadn't left when I did, if Joseph hadn't been there, this story wouldn't have ended the same way. Now, I'm still with Joseph. And yeah, it turned into something real. Stronger than I expected. Because when everything went wrong, he stayed. He didn't run. He didn't disappear. He chose me. And maybe that's the part Harrison was wrong about. Not everyone leaves. Some people stay. And sometimes, that's exactly what saves you.